So I'm going to build, now I'm going to do this in Xcode, okay, just because it's faster for me, but like in many ways. But and I want to abstract this away from Android Studio, but it's the same thing in Android Studio. So like even when you're making a new Android product, it asks you like if you want to use version control or not, or if you look at your, let me just open Android here. I don't know if you can see it here, but if you look at the directory structure, let's look at this directory. Where is it? Show in Finder, reveal in Finder. Okay, so here's an Android project. Okay, this is someone's homework, and you'll see like this file says git ignore. This has to do with Git. Git ignore is a file that tells you ignore these things in Git. Okay, and you don't have to worry about that right now, but let me just show it to you what it is. So let me drag this into text editor, and please. Okay. Let me try something else. Okay, so here's a project. Okay, this is an open source project. It's on GitHub, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So here's a git ignore file. I'm going to drag this into TextMate. Okay, so all this is a text file, and it has a bunch of stuff in it. And all it says is like to Git is if you see this file in the person's directory, when they check their stuff in, don't check this stuff in. Ignore this. So like I'm on a Mac. Mac has some files that it will create that Windows doesn't create. And it's just for like Mac stuff, for the operating system. So there's no reason for that to be in my source code. So I would put that here. So like this .ds store, you'll find this on Macs, you won't find this on Windows. It has no meaning to Windows. Okay, it just tells the Mac like some information that about how files are on that local machine. It has nothing to do with my project. This is created by the operating system automatically when I create anything. Okay, so I don't want Git to put this in my project, so that's why I have this here. And there's a bunch of other files I wanted to ignore. So that's what I put here. There's another file here called Git attributes, and that just tells Git some stuff about my project. So what this says is for this file type, I want when you do a merge, when I try to merge my code, treat it in a certain way. So like treat it like binary data or whatever, text data, and merge them. So I had this file here for a certain type of file to make it merge properly. Again, you're never going to use this, or you not really need to worry about that too much. Okay, but if I look here, then there's this hidden folder called Git. Okay, and that's where all the information for Git is stored. It has the branches and all the stuff. One of the things about Git is, unlike CVS, Subversion, and all those other ones, Git is not doesn't have a central repository. Like you can have a Git local to your machine and have it nowhere else. Or I could have a network and push it to another machine. Or I could push my pushes, or I can pull code directly from another person's machine. So it's a decentralized repository. Okay, it's like what is that? What do people use to download like music and torrents? You know how torrents work? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's like kind of like the way torrents work. Is torrents are if you're downloading a file, you're not downloading from one server. There are pieces of that file like all over the place. Well, in this case, it's not pieces, but like that repository is like all over the place. It can be anywhere. It could be on your machine. It could be on another machine, and you can specify where it is. Okay, so let me skip to the chase and actually build a quick project. And this will serve as a quick lesson in Xcode too. So like you can't obviously follow along with me, but unless you have a Mac, but you can see some really quick iOS element. I think I did this before, but so I'm just going to make a new Xcode project. Yeah, but anyway, I'm doing this to show you version control. Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick app, and I'm going to call this Android demo because we're an Android class. Let me call it Android class demo. Android class demo, and team blah blah blah. Language is Swift. I don't need core data. I don't need any of this. Okay, and I'm going to put it in my sandbox, and I'm going to call this Android class week 10. Now, I have this thing checkmark, create a Git repository on my Mac. Same thing in Android Studio. It asks you, do you want a Git repository? Just leave this checked as a best practice, okay? So I'm going to say yes, create a Git repository. It made it for me. If I didn't do this, I could go back and make it later from the command line. Today, I'm not going to show you any command line from Git. It's just getting into too many details. But lots of people like to use Git just from the command line, which is fine if that floats your boat. You can read about it on one of those tutorial sites, how to do that. Okay, so here I have a project. I'm not going to really do much with it. I'm just going to run it. Okay, on my phone. No, I'm going to run it on a simulator so you can see it. Okay, maybe I'll run it on my phone. I can do this wirelessly, but then you won't see my screen, so I'm going to not do it wirelessly. What just happened? So, QuickTime, and I'm going to go ahead and run this on my phone. And QuickTime, going to make a new movie recording. Okay, so this is my phone that you're seeing. And that disconnected my phone. So try this again. Okay, it says it's running it. I don't see it yet. So while that's doing that thing. Okay, so anyway, here's some code, right? And I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just gonna put a comment in here. So I could do all my Git stuff from within Xcode. Android Studio, you can do all your Git stuff from within Android Studio. Okay, but both of those situations, they don't give you this nice visual view of like your branches and how stuff works. But you can do it from here. So I could like say from here, source control, and commit, push, pull, discard changes, create Git repositories. I can clone stuff. You can. There's a whole thing here. Same thing in Android Studio. It's under VCS, local history, show history. There's all these commands. You can look this stuff up in the Android Studio reference on Google site and learn how to use that stuff from within here. For just to get you guys to teach you the concept, I'm going to use this tool called Tower. There's lots of tools you can use, like third-party tools for what's called a Git client. Okay, if you use GitHub, they have a tool you can download also. That's a client, or you can just use it from GitHub directly. And I'll show you GitHub in a second. Anyway, this is Tower. It's called Git Tower. If you want to download it and run it, there's like a 30-day or 60-day trial. If you ask for an extension, they'll give it to you. But if you just Google Git Tower, you'll find their website and you can download it if you want to try this out. For me, like it costs money, but it's worth every penny for me. I use this like all the time. I would be lost without it. I hate using command line for Git. Okay, so in Git, now I have this new project, right? That I just made in Xcode. I don't know why it's not running. Let me try it again. Oh, because it's not on my phone. Good Lord. Okay, let me save some time and just run the regular version. That's good. Let's see. Change this to, man, what a pain. Okay, so while that's running, let me go ahead into Tower and add this project to my repository. So here's a list of repositories I have. I want to add one. So I'm going to add a repository. I could make a new local repository from here too. So I'm going to go ahead and add it and tell it where it is. So I said it's here and here, add repository. So here's my repository, okay? And you can see I have already a master branch, which is the main branch that's made by default, okay? And I have an initial commit that this is done by Xcode for me already. Xcode, when I made the repository, it committed all the files that were there already. So it committed these files. So I can see what, and it even get a comment that this is initial commit. Okay, so I'm going to do development work, so I don't want to do this on my, let's see. I don't want to do this on my master branch, so I want to make a new branch, right? So first of all, I said I want to use Git flow. So Tower has this nice thing. I can just say enable Git flow. It'll already make my master, develop, feature branches, hotfixes, release branches for me. I just hit configure, boom, it'll create that structure for me. So now I have master, develop, and I have no features. I haven't done any features yet. So see how it says head? So head means what is the branch you're working on right now. So another powerful feature of Git is you can switch between branches like really fast and easily with a command or whatever. Okay, so my app is running on my phone right now. Just going to show it to you. Look at that. Awesome blank screen. Okay, so I want to add some stuff to this, right? So let's do that real quick and see what happens in Git. But I want to start tracking my changes. So in Tower, I want to make sure I'm doing it in the right place. I don't want to do this in master. I don't want to do it in develop. I want to make a new feature. So I'm going to first of all switch to develop as my main branch, because that's what I'm working in. But I want to do a feature branch. So I'm going to just drag this on top of branches. Okay, I'm going to name this feature / login. Okay, and I'm going to create the branch, and I left check all branches. I'm going to just switch my head to that. So here's feature, and there's login, and it's head. If I want to go back to develop, I just switch that really quick. You can do it for me. I'm double clicking on it. Okay, so now I'm in login branch. Okay, what has changed in my code so far? Nothing, right? Now let's make some changes really quick. So let me just go to view my files, and here's my storyboard. And I want to just drag and drop real quick a label onto here. So here's the blank screen I'm seeing. I want a label on there, so I'm going to just look for a label. And we were doing this in Android, right? So just you're going to see really quick how easy this is to do. Same thing in iOS. I'm not going into a lot of features, but like it's much more powerful. So I want this to be some cool demo. Okay. Great. So I made my changes, and this is my login branch. And let me just go ahead and run this. So I'm going to stop and run this. While that's happening, I'm just going to switch real quick to Tower and show you what happened. See where it says working copy? That's whatever changes I'm doing. And there's a 1. So what is that 1? One file has changed. The storyboard has changed. What has changed? Let me click on it. It shows me whatever is green has been added. whatever is red has been deleted. So that's a storyboard file. So like there's a lot of code. Actually, you can see here what the code is. It's all this garbage that I don't have to look at because I'm doing a visual view. Okay, like it's not XML. Well, actually, it does say it is XML, but it's a lot harder to read than Android stuff. Okay, so don't bother. But let me look at my screen. Oh, look, here's my changes I made. Here it is. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Stage All, which selects all the files I've changed. I'm going to make a commit subject line, added label. I'm going to put some details, added freaking cool label. Good. Okay, and I'm going to hit commit. Now look what happens. My login branch. Oh, actually, I did it too quick. Okay, so you can see that I have now 2 commits. Initial commit, add a label. Even has my picture. So when you have multiple developers, you can see everyone's face at a glance without looking. You can see like without looking at their names and see what's changed. Let me look at another repo real quick. This one. And if I look at this, you can see these are changes I made, changes he made, changes some other guy. Oh, that's still him. But I mean, you can see this is a third developer. And you can see these lines. So this line is the Swift 4 branch that I made. This green line is like the main branch that he had made. And this is another branch, this orange line. You can see like an overview of the structure and where changes happen, what merged and all that. To understand what these lines mean in more detail, go to that tutorial and it'll explain it really clearly. This one. Okay? It goes into details and explains like what all these lines mean and visually. I don't want to spend time on that right now.
Is that one linked for us?
It is in a previous lecture. I'll add this tonight. Okay. But if you Google Git tutorial, look for the one from Altazine. It's one of the first results. There's 2 of them that are really good. I'll link both of those. This one and I don't know. You could this one, the GitHub guide. Okay. So let me make another change real quick. I said this is a login feature, right? So let's add like some a login stuff. Let me go files. I'm in the storyboard and I want to see text field. Okay. And I want a button. And I'm going to change this text to enter your username. But I could also put that here as default text, but whatever. Center this button. Okay, so I just made a bunch of changes, right? Go back to Tower and the right repository, and boom. You can see that there's one change. This file changed again. Okay? Let me make another change without doing anything else to this. Okay? And some code, another file. So I'm going to add a comment here. This is the coolest comment you ever saw. Okay? Notice comments are the same in Swift as they are in Kotlin. There's this kind of comment, and there's this kind of comment. I think you have the same in JavaScript, right? Okay. So, Kotlin, same thing. Hint, hint. These are how you write comments, right? Okay. Enough about that. No, this is one is a multi-line and one is a single line. So, this is single line comment, this is multi-line. So, everything between this and that is going to be like that. In HTML, you use this and it's multi-line. Always. So you can put as many lines as you want and then until you see this, right? But this is not a comment in Kotlin or in Swift. This HTML comment, okay? That only works in HTML, XML, right? In Kotlin and Swift, you use / and then to close it, */ or just 2 slashes. Okay? Notice at the top there's some comments that it made there automatically too. Okay, let me save this. Let me jump over to my Git client. Now look, there's 2 files. See the number 2 there in working copy? And there's 2 things. Now, I could just stage all and make one commit comment, or I could do them separately. So for this one, I'm going to say this is the Swift file. I can see if I click on this what the changes were. It's highlighted right away. It's so easy to see. It's in green. I added 2 comments. Okay, so added comments. We never saw comments this cool. Okay, so that's my comment for that. And then I'm going to hit commit. And now it's, if I click on login here, you can see like I have these 3 things that I committed so far. But all this is local on my machine. What if my machine dies like right now? My code's gone. Or what if I go home and work on my other machine? How do I get to my code? Because it's just on this machine. So I could pull Git from this repo onto that machine. But what if this machine, like someone stole it and I went home and I want to just pull, or I left this at one place and I don't have access to it on the other network, right? So it's good if I push this out in the cloud somewhere on some other repo, right? So there's 2 repos that I'm going to talk about in this class. One is Bitbucket. She at the door? Okay. So one is Bitbucket and one is GitHub. They're both super. Not this one. You didn't see that. GitHub. There. Okay. So these 2 are super useful. Both of them. GitHub is the largest place on the internet where you'll find third-party open source libraries. Okay. So open source means that people have put it there for anyone who wants to use it. They have different agreements. You can read the license terms for each one. They have different like types of open source agreements, like different licenses. Like there's Apache. There's a whole bunch of different ones. You can, for anyone, you can read about that. I'm not going to talk about it in this class, what they mean. But suppose, let me just go ahead and sign in. Suppose I'm making a project and I wanted to use Google Analytics. Or actually, that's not open source. Say I wanted to use menu in my iOS thing, a sidebar menu, and I don't want to write all the code myself. I want to use someone else's. Or suppose I want like this library that makes using writing stuff to the what's in iOS the keychain. What we saw in Android was called the what is it? Something preferences. What was I talking about earlier? Shared preferences. Was that what it's called? Oh, shared preferences. So, shared preferences in Android is called keychain on iOS. So, suppose I needed that library, or I wanted some help with it. I don't want to write all this boilerplate code. I could come here and search for Swift, the language, and keychain. And I might happen to find one called, oh, keychain Swift, or this one, keychain access, which is one I use, okay? And so I could go to this project, and first of all, this is the main contributor. He owns this library, okay? So I can pull this down into my code. I can just go here. This is the master branch, and they have other branches, like when Swift 5 comes out, they'll have one for Swift 5 or whatever, right? I can clone or download here. Click this, and here's the URL, and I can clone that repo. So I would hit this button, and it copies to my clipboard, and I could go to Tower, and say, hey, I want to clone this new repository. Add one. And I would say, okay, clone a Git repository, because it's coming from Git, or it's a Git. Here's the URL. Okay, do you want to tell them who you are, or do you want to do it anonymously? I want to tell them, oh no, I have an account on GitHub. I want to use that account and clone it and boot it. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to, but it would pull the code down and it'd be on my machine now. Okay. Same way, you can have your own repos. Okay. So this one is GitHub. I have an account. I have my own repos here, but I think you get one or none. I forget, they've changed their terms, but you only get like maybe one private repo. So you can have public repositories, which anybody in the world can see, which is great. It's fine. But suppose you want some code that's for you, or it's a project you want to sell this app in the store. You don't want everyone to have access to your code necessarily, right? So you want to have a private repo. Okay. So for that, Bitbucket is really useful because you can have a whole bunch of private repositories. I forget how many. I thought it was 5, but I have way more than that, and I'm not paying for this. But it might be because I'm on other people's accounts that paid for it. I don't know why. But you can see like I have all these repositories are mine. Okay. Like here's one for some app I did for a client. Okay. So if I go to this, same thing online on the web browser, I can see, oh, what are the branches that I had on this repo? Only one branch. Okay. We did this when we were new. It's very old. Pull requests. No open pull requests. Because, okay, pull request means that, so developer Y, I'm developer X, developer Y made some changes, but he doesn't have permission to merge it. He made a pull request, and I have to merge it after I review his changes. So I would see an open pull request there. Commits. Same thing you saw in Tower. Like, this is my developer, and this is me, and the two of us did all this work. And you can see the lines that show you all the merges and stuff, how the project history went. Okay? And here's the comment. I updated build number. Here's the details. I updated to 3.2, whatever, and some other details. Actually, let me see if I can go into this and show you the details. And these commit numbers are created by Git automatically, and then you can use that to pull, like, you know, in the command line a certain repo, but you don't need to know that. So I went to the details of this commit. I can see, oh, I changed this one value from 3.1 to 3.2. Okay, and this was the title, committed, updated build number. These are the details. Updated the build number to 3.2, and then this is done automatically. Okay, so that gives you an idea. So right now, this project I have in Xcode. My professor assigned this to me as homework. I had to do this tutorial. Okay, and I want to be able to get to this, and I want my professor to be able to get to this too, without me having to submit it on Canvas. Although I'm not saying you don't have to do that. Okay, but suppose I want them to review my changes. I need help from my professor. So right now, if I said do this homework, and you need help from me, the only way I can help you is like, okay, send me your code, and I look at it, and I send it back to you. Maybe you send me the wrong file. But if I had just direct access to see your repo, I could review your code, make changes even if I wanted to, or if you let me, or I could give you help right away, right? So how do I do that? So I want to push this from my machine to Bitbucket or GitHub. I'm going to use Bitbucket, okay? So I'm going to go ahead back to Bitbucket and say, make a new repo, create a new repository. I'm doing this really fast to show you how easy it is, right? I'm going to call this Android Demo Week 10. It's private, and it's a Git. Mercurial is another one, like SVN, Subversion. It's another type. Don't worry about it. I'm not talking about it again. It's a really old type of version control. Okay, you could create a git ignore. I can create a README, whatever. What is a README and all that is if I go to, for example, if I go to this repo, all this text you see and the demo and the screenshots, this is all the README file. This is editable. Now, instead of pulling this down, making changes and re-uploading it and doing a pull request, I can actually make the changes right here in the browser too for stuff like this. So like if I look at these files, there's a readme.md. MD is Markdown, by the way. It uses Markdown format, which is like a shorthand for HTML. It's really powerful. But here is the actual stuff. I could click on this little pencil and make an edit. And I can say, you know what? You made the spelling mistake here. It's not Swift. It was like Swiftly. Okay? And then I'm not going to do this because they'll think I'm stupid. But then I can like actually make a pull request from here. And then, where's the button? I can propose a file change. And I'll, again, give a title and the details of that. And it'll go, and they'll see it as an open pull request. I'm going to cancel this. And let's see if, for this project, are there any open pull requests? There are none. Let's look at another project that has some. Let me go to me. What time is this class over? 8:50? Okay. Let's look at Alamo Fire. This is a really popular networking library for iOS. Okay. So if I look at, there's 3 branches, there's 43 releases, 103 people contributing this, over 1,000 commits. Let's look at pull requests. None here. How about for a different branch? Patch 1. None. Okay. Anyway, you would go here and see any open pull requests, and you would see what the request was, what the changes were proposed. Okay. There's some cool stuff on GitHub, like what the contributors were, what the pulse of the project is. Okay, you can see who contributed how much. This is really cool because if I go to like an individual like me, and I'm a recruiter or I'm a company trying to hire somebody, or I'm a job applicant and I'm reviewing someone's application, people want to know your GitHub account, and they'll go and look at, oh, what's your activity? This guy is a moron. I mean, he doesn't do anything open source. Like, he's not a moron, but like he doesn't contribute much. So, because there's like hardly anything here. If I go to some other guy, like this guy, he was hired off by Apple now. It's not actually Matt. Matt was hired by Apple. So now you see nothing here. But this used to be packed. So, but now he works for Apple. Nothing he does is viewable to the public anymore, because everything he does is like top secret. But this guy, you can see like the darker the green is, the more he's contributed. You can see what he contributes to and all that. Like, you know, this is a project he contributed to 10 times, and these 2 repositories, whatever. So you can get an idea. Okay. So I was adding my project to Bitbucket. So I made this new thing. Now I want to connect my local repo to this one and push my stuff up there, right? Right now there's nothing here. So how do I do that? I don't know. How do I do that? Okay, so let me add a remote repo here, right? So I'm going to add a remote repository. Now, I could have more than one remote repo. Real quick before I do this, let me show you. So here's another repository that I'm working on right now. And this is the stuff that's local. I have 2 different remotes, okay? So this one is like on the client's server. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This one only shows you one. But you would see here remote 1 and remote 2. Like you'd see 2 different remotes, and I could, when I could push to either one or both or whatever, okay? So let me add a remote repo here. And it asks me for the URL and the name of it. So this is, I'll just call this Bitbucket demo. And I put the URL here for that repo. So the repo URL is, I don't know where it is. I think it's this. Bitbucket.org. Normally what you'll see, it'll show you on the top level of the project. I don't know why they changed it, but it'll show you in the top level the URL. So if I go to some other one, like this one, it shows me right here. If I want to use HTTPS and then the URL, you just copy paste that into your client. So let's try that for Android demo. I don't know why it's not there. Probably because I haven't pushed anything yet. Let's create a README. Maybe that'll do it. Commit. Okay, there we go. So change this to HTTPS, copy this URL, and go into Tower and paste it there. Now, I have an account. If it didn't know about it, I could add it here. Then I go ahead and add the remote. And that didn't work. Let me try it again. It's like a branch. Yeah. Oh, this is why it didn't work. It has other stuff in here. No, wait a minute. This should work. I think I don't need all of this stuff. The Abu Nur at. No, it did that for me. Why doesn't this work? Oh, now it worked. Okay, so there it is. So you see I call it Bitbucket. That's just the name I gave it. Now, the reason I went through all this effort to actually try to do it is so you can do it for your homework, but also, and I'm recording this, so I'll post a video of this class online so you can go through this slowly if you didn't get it, okay? Now, I had some changes I made that didn't commit yet, so I'm going to go ahead and commit this. This I added login UI. I added text box and other stuff. Stage this, commit it. Okay. Now, oh shoot. Okay, so on Bitbucket, all I have is master. I don't have anything else. Let me go ahead and fetch. What fetch does is it says anything that's remote, pull it down and show me the changes. There's no changes, so it doesn't show me anything yet. But if I want to publish this login branch, let me just drag this over to the remote and it'll publish it. So you'll see I have master, and now I have feature, and I also want the develop branch remote. So let me push that too. So I have develop, master, and feature. Now let me make some other changes. And I'm just doing this, okay, this is a third comment. Okay, so now let me look here. I see I have working copy, one change, stage all, another random comment, demo of Git. Okay, so I hit commit. It's committing it locally. Okay, now this is the important part. So you see, I committed locally, so there's nothing in the working copy, no number now. But there's this one with an arrow, and you see here this arrow is next to this commit. This means that it's local but not remote yet. I haven't pushed this anywhere remotely. Okay, so at a glance you can tell what has been committed locally and what has been not pushed to the remote server yet. So I know if I leave this machine, if I give this to a student and say, take my machine, you can have it, I sell it to them, right? Then I go home and I want to pull this project down, I'm not going to get any of these changes that have the arrows on them because they aren't on the server yet. So I need to push that. So all I have to do is hit this, push, and again, everything I'm doing here, you can do by the command line. You don't need any client. You can do it from your terminal window, but that's just, I'm not good with that, and you can read about it. So I just hit push, and now it's publishing or it's pushing that stuff here. And I can prove that to you by tapping on the remote and looking at it. I can see my commits on the remote when it's highlighted. If I didn't push it, you wouldn't see it there. So let me do that really quick. And fourth comment. Okay, so now you see again the whole thing. I haven't committed it. Another, and make sure you include detailed commit comments. Okay, so stage it. I'm gonna hit commit. Okay, so what happens? I have this arrow now, means it was committed locally, but not remotely. You can see in the list all my commits, and this one has an arrow. If I look at the remote, I have one less commit. So that proves, like, this is a view of the remote. Now, just to make sure that what is in the remote server is like up to date, I can hit this thing, fetch. Fetch just says, refresh the view of the remote servers, however many of them there are, and then it pulls, it queries them, and it updates this display. Nothing has changed remotely. There's no other developer changing stuff. But if there were, I would see changes here. Okay. That's what fetch does. Pull means pull down any new commits. It's this thing, okay? So he did some changes. I want to pull down any new changes. So if I hit pull, so if I hit fetch and he pushed his changes to develop, I would see develop here with an arrow going down, and how many changes there were, like 1, 2, 3, it would be there, okay? And then I could do this. I could pull the develop stuff onto my working branch right now to merge them, and there's no conflicts because like it's like historical, like it's really cool. Like even if I made some major changes, but because it knows like what happened before, it merges them like seamlessly because it looks at the time that it happened. It doesn't just look at like other versioning control systems. They will not look at like the timestamp, and they won't know how to smartly synchronize. Like, so this class completely changed. I don't know which one should I use, the one from before or the one later. Git is not dumb like that. It's really smart about that. It'll merge stuff in a synchronous manner. And sometimes there are conflicts, and then you have to resolve those. But then you get a chance to fix that. Okay, so let me again just push this to make sure all my stuff is remote. Okay, so this is my homework assignment. I created a remote repository on Bitbucket. I did some work locally. I'll give this to you guys as homework, okay? And then I pushed my changes. The last thing is I need my professor to be able to look at my code, okay? How can he do that? Well, let me go to Bitbucket. And on this project only, not on some other private hush-hush project that I don't want you guys to know about, but on this project, I can add other developers. How do I do that? Okay, so let's see. I could create a team. Let's see. Share. There we go. I can share like that, or I can invite, send an invitation. Okay. I want to invite Harry in my team. So this is his email address .com. Okay. And I hit add, and then it would send him an email saying, "You've been invited to this repository. Would you like to join?" Whatever. And if he has an account in Bitbucket, then he can log in with his account and add it. If he doesn't, he'll have to create an account. So same way you guys can add me or whoever else. You can work together on projects, help each other out. But you can like work, like you could in theory work on a class project together with like all, I don't know, 9 of you, and all contribute to the same code base and use this flow to make sure everything stays in sync, nothing goes out of